Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Tactical Films, and guess what? Today I'm bringing you guys another awesome tutorial on how to pretty much get any models into Gmod and kind of make your own model and texture it and all that stuff. I've been getting a lot of requests lately. Here we go, let's go. Alright, so the first thing that you're going to need to do is go into one of the links in the description. It says Blender Source Tools. You're going to go ahead and click download, and this is going to quickly download. You're going to open up, so you're going to need Blender, of course. You can find it in the Steam store. So now I have a shortcut for this, so let's go ahead and open up Blender. Here we go, and there's Blender. So now we're going to go back to our Chrome. This is what we just downloaded, right? So this is our little file here, and this is actually in our downloads folder. So we're going to go to here. And if you guys already have Blender Source Tools, you guys can skip forward a little bit. But this is, I guess, like kind of a quick refresher. So we're going to go to User Preferences. We're going to go to Add-ons, Install from File. We're going to go to our Downloads folder. So let's just type that in. And there it is. Alright, and let's just find that in our, or we can just search for it. Blender Source Tools. There it is. And by default, it's not going to be checked since I already have it, but you guys are going to have to like check it just like I'm checking this. But check this one right here, the Import Blender Source Tools. Then you're going to hit Save User Settings. You're going to close out of this little window, and I guess you can close out of that Chrome window that you have open there. So now we're in Blender, right? So by default, when you open up a new thing, you have a little cube and stuff. You can like rotate around, whatever. So here's our cube. So this is actually going to be tiny in game because of the scaling. So let's actually move this up, I guess. I don't know, you guys are just going to have to go with trial and error on this one. So this is, I guess, right here. And now, what we're going to do, since we're going to want to add a texture to this, we're going to go over here. We're going to use our scrolling wheel to actually scroll through these things over here, on this bar on the right. And we're going to find the little, this little guy right here, the material button. And we're going to create a new material. Let's say that this whole thing is going to be called cube, right? So let's double click here and let's call it cube underscore thing, because that's an awesome name. So cube underscore thing. Now we're going to go to this little checker thing. We're going to click on that, and we're going to rename this little text or whatever. We're going to call this cube underscore thing. There we go. So now this material is bound to this. And now let's rename this guy to cube underscore thing. It's really, you can name these whatever you want, but I'd recommend first naming them how I'm naming them while you're going through the tutorial, just so you know exactly what to do later, and you can like fiddle around with it. So we've got the cube thing. This cube thing is going to be our mesh that people are going to see. So people are going to see this, but in Gmod there's also a thing called a collision model, so you're going to have to create a collision model. So for this kind of basic thing, I guess you can just copy and paste. So Control C and Control V. Alright, so now we've got cube thing 001, so let's call this cube underscore thing underscore PHYS. So fizz, you can call it underscore physics, underscore solid thing, whatever you really want. So underscore fizz, but we're gonna need it to be underscore fizz for now. So you have the cube thing underscore fizz, and this is actually a separate model, as you can see. The cube thing is just this one. And by the way, I'm moving this stuff around by hitting G, just in case you didn't know, and I'm rotating around by pressing down on the mouse wheel. So now we have cube thing underscore fizz. So we also need a static thing, right? Gmod interprets these models as being animated, so let's create another, let's Control C, Control V, and let's make sure that we're editing the right one. So this one, we're going to, instead of underscore fizz, we're going to call this one underscore idle. So this is going to be our idle thing, right? And we're going to actually want only one frame of animation, because that's all Gmod needs to sort of see that the model's not moving. If you guys want to make a more advanced model, you can add animation and whatnot, but this is not an animation tutorial, it's only how to get started. So let's hit start, let's go end, let's do 2 right here. So that's at the bottom, this is our animation thingy. Let's move this little bar over here, and now we're going to use the scroll wheel to sort of move in until we can see it pretty well. You don't have to do this, but I'd suggest doing it. So now let's go back to this window. Make sure your mouse is over top of your cube. We're going to hit the I key, and we're going to hit lock rot scale, this guy right here. So So now we're going to over here, this is which frame we're currently on. So right now we're on frame 1. Let's go to frame 2. So let's hit enter. And now we're on frame 2. We're going to do the exact same thing over here. We're going to move our mouse on the main screen on the cube, and we're going to hit I, lock rot scale. So there you go. Now we've got, while cube thing idle is selected, we have, that is our animation block. Now since that's fine, this is cube thing. It doesn't have any animations, as you can see. Cube thing idle has the 2 yellow guys, which are the animations, and then cube thing fizz also does not have animations. So for now, looks like we're fine. So let's go to the package that you guys downloaded. So here's what we have in our package, right? We have Crowbar, Materials, the Cube, VTF Edit. So Crowbar and VTF Edit, these are some software that I will be talking about later. Let's go into the Cube. We have an anims folder and we have a cube.qc. So I have replicated this, so this is for you guys. I have made the exact same thing over here. So we have our anims and cube.qc. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this bar right here. We're going to click on this, and you can see the whole file path. We're going to right click, we're going to hit copy, and now what we're going to do is we're going to here, and since we have Blender Source Tools installed, we can use the scroll wheel once again, scroll over here next to the camera, the little picture things, and this little, whatever it is, I don't even know, scene, that's what it says. So we got scene. Let's go all the way down to the bottom, and here we have our source engine export. So this is really nice. So first of all, let's hit export for SMD, because that's what we're doing. Now export path, this is where you're going to be exporting to. Let's click over here and let's hit paste, so Control V. Right, so there we go, we just pasted our directory that we have for the cube thing with the QC and the anims. And now we also need one more thing, which is the path of the engine. So the engine is pretty much your Gary's Mod / bin folder. So let's actually just show you guys real quick. So right now I'm in, let's just go all the way back. So we have of course this PC, local disk C, program files, Steam apps, common, then we go Gary's Mod, and then bin, right? I already have this path sort of saved, so I'm gonna go to that. Let's just find that locations. So here's our engine path, right? If you guys, it should be like this for you guys, so I guess you can just copy the C program files, 86, Steam apps, common, Gary's Mod, bin. And now we're going to go back to Blender, we're going to paste it, we're going to click on this, hit Control V, enter, and we're good. So that should be fine. So now what we'll do is we'll actually hit export, and we won't hit this guy, we will hit scene export, so it'll be all 3 files. But before we do that, usually what I see, people have some issues with the models being invisible, all that. So let's solve those issues right now. So if you hit tab on this, you're going into edit mode. All these faces are selected, as you can see. And now to deselect them, you can hit A, select all of them, hit A, whatever, right? And now, since we want, there are some things called normals, right? Like normals. And we want to fix these normals, because sometimes people break the normals, whatnot. So let's fix the normals, let's hit A, and let's actually hit Control N to fix the normals. Control N, there we go. And there we go, our normals are fixed. Let's hit tab, and the color might, if your normals were messed up, your color of the cube will change, but that's not gonna affect the actual material that's in Gmod. So now let's hit export, and let's hit scene export 3 files. Right, there we go. Now we've exported those 3 files to our modeling tutorial, which would be our the cube folder. Remember, the anims and the cube.qc. So we have cube thing idle, and cube thing fizz. So cube thing idle, what we're gonna do with this guy, we don't like him, so we're gonna throw him into anims. Anims is our animations, if you guys, in case you guys didn't know. And cube thing idle is pretty much the idle animation. So now we're going to go into cube.qc. So I'm just going to open this with Sublime Text. You guys can open it with some software like Notepad or whatever. Like let's find Notepad right here. So then just hit OK. but I'm going to open it with Sublime Text just because it's nicer. And here we have our sort of basic QC file for making models. So now we have our model name, which is up here. This is where the model will actually be saved to. So you can sort of prefix this, pretend it's going to be models slash, or models in the other slash, models slash awesome add-on, whatever. I just named it whatever I want. Then I made the scale 1. If the scale is wrong, if you guys messed up on the scale in Blender, you can always tamper with the scale over here to make sure it's correct. Then I set the body to be cube.smd. Our thing is actually called cube_thing. So we're going to cube_thing. That's what we're going to put as our body, because that's pretty much what you see. So cube_thing. And then the CD materials, this is where our materials will be stored. So they'll be stored in materials /cube/cube_thing, and then there are going to be materials in there. So our surface prop is going to be metal, just because I chose metal. You can choose many different surface props. There is a pretty good list that I have in one of these files. The link will be in the description for the surface props. You can choose whatever you want, concrete, on any of that stuff. Then you have contents solid, so make sure you put this. This makes sure the contents are solid, they're not like wobbly or whatever. Sequence, so this is our sequence. Remember when we made the quick animation? So this is our anims folder, cube_thing_idle. So cube_thing_idle. That's what we'll set this to. FPS 1 because we just said so. Collision model, so cube_thing_fizz, right? Because that's what we called the collision model, cube_thing_fizz.smd. I just set the mass to auto mass. You can also set the mass to whatever you want by, I'm pretty sure it's mass, and then just doing like 500. I wouldn't recommend doing that because that's a lot, but you can just do whatever you want there. Inertia, damping, you can just mess with those. Make sure you keep concave though, because that's pretty important. If your model has any things on the inside and you want the physics mesh to properly interpret it. So now we're good, so let's hit Control S, and that'll work in Notepad as well. Let's close out of what we're doing here, and we'll go back into our thing over here. Now we're gonna go to, in the package I included Crowbar. So Crowbar is over here. I just put it over here for myself. You're gonna go ahead and double click Crowbar to open it. Now the thing with Crowbar is you have to set it up first, right? It's a very easy setup. So you have something. You have the model compiler for the game. That's very important. So you're gonna hit Setup Games right here. This is not gonna be here because I just made it. Let's pretend it was set to Black Mesa. So now let's click Add. Let's type in Gary's mod, and here we're going to, this is where our game info text. So go back to your Gary's mod and Steam apps. So pretty much once again, you go into your PC, program files, Steam apps, common, Gary's mod. And this time we're going into Gary's mod once again, and let's copy this path right here. And now we're going to throw it into here. Let's just hit browse. Let's paste it into here. Let's hit enter. Now we can hit gameinfo.txt. Now let's hit browse once again. We already have this over here. Now let's go back to the main Gary's mod folder. Let's hit bin, and then we can select Studio MDL. And now let's hit browse once again. We can select HLMV, and now let's hit browse once again, and let's hit VPK. So now this looks pretty good. So let's hit save and close, and this should automatically select it. So now our QC file. Let's go back to our thing that we were working on. So our cube, and here is our QC file. This is very important. So let's copy the path for this, and let's paste it over here. Boom. Let's hit enter, and let's select cube.qc. Oh yeah. So this looks fine. Let's hit compile, and if your log doesn't look similar to this, then that means there's probably a really big problem. Yeah, you really want your log to have like these different sections like this that are separated by little lines. But you know, these warnings, like sometimes they're not important. These don't look too important. They look fine. So let's actually not do anything about these. So yep, our log is fine. So our thing was actually exported properly, and see, it shows you kind of where it should be, but it doesn't always export it to the right, it doesn't always send the files there. It makes the folders and stuff, but it doesn't always send the files. So I guess we can close out of Crowbar at this point, Now let's sort of minimize Blender, and let's go into our Steam Apps Common Gary's Mod, and now we can go into our models folder, which should be created. If it's not created, then go ahead and do create it. It should have awesome add-on inside, should have cube inside of that, and then it usually has something, but sometimes it doesn't work. Like this time it did not work. So it's really simple. All you're gonna do is go into here, the cube, into your where we were working, our sort of workspace, if you will. Let's go into compile.38. Let's select all these files. So just hit Control A or this. Let's hit copy. Now let's go into our cube over here, or in our Gary's Mod models awesome add-on cube, and let's hit paste. Perfect. So now we've got our stuff in there. Let's go into our cube right there, and see, this is looking fine. So now we also want materials on our model, so that's very important. So we can go into materials. If the folder's not there, just create it, and let's go back into our QC file to check what our materials thing actually looks like. So see the materials cube /cube thing / whatever the material is. So it's gonna be, we're gonna create a new folder in here called cube. Then we're gonna create another folder. Let's call this cube_thing, and then in there we're going. So now we're in that materials cube thing. And once again, Gary's Mod materials cube thing. Perfect. So now let's open up Photoshop or GIMP. I don't use GIMP. I don't find it cool, but you can also go to pixlr.com. Made a tutorial on how to use Pixlr for some things. Let's hit a new. Let's go ahead and create a thing that is 1080 by 1080, because that's what we want to work with. If you guys want to make it smaller or lower resolution for some reason, you can go 512 by 512, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do 1080 by 1080. Let's hit enter. Here's our file here. Let's uncheck the background. So I kind of expect you guys to know how to use Photoshop, you know what I'm saying? But if you don't, it's fine. I'll just quickly show you. So well, it's just a really basic thing. Let's create a solid. I don't know what color I'm gonna do. Let's make it like stand out. So let's make it like red. Boom. Let's do that. You can also just grab some texture and paste it on here, like some wall or whatever, if you really wanted to. I'm not gonna do that though. I'm gonna leave that to you guys to delete the layer on the bottom, because whatever. Let's hit file. Let's hit save as, and we're going to save this into the cube folder just to make it easier to access. Paste that in there. Oh, we already have it open. So let's just call this the cube image or whatever. This one actually doesn't matter what you call it, just as long as you know it's the actual image. Let's not save it as a PSD. Let's save it as a JPEG, because the program likes JPEG. Let's hit OK. We can close out of Photoshop, and now let's go into, we have our thing right here. So now what we'll do is actually go back into the package that I gave you guys, and you have VTF edit. You're going to double click VTF edit, you're going to open it up, and here's VTF edit, and I'm just going to leave that open. Copy this right here, this path, go into file, import, and paste the path, and now hit the cube_img. These settings should look similar as long as it's like animated texture, DTEX 1, DTEX 5. It should be similar, and by default it should be these settings. Just leave the default settings, don't mess with the settings unless you know what you're doing. So hit OK. These flags don't really need to be messed with for now. And now you have your red thing here, so let's hit save as. Let's go back into our Gary's Mod materials cube thing. Let's copy this one right here. Let's paste it into here. And now, file name, actually in the Blender, remember when we did that thing with the materials? So we called it cube_thing. So, we're calling this exactly cube_thing. This is very important. Remember this. Hit save. So now in here we have cube_thing. I guess we can close out of this guy because it's not important anymore. Go back into our package, and in our materials I have cube_thing.vmt. Let's copy that. Let's paste it into here, because you guys want to always keep a backup of the original stuff, because it's better. to do that, just in case you lose it. So cube underscore thing VMT. So let's open that up. Where is it? Open with, and let's open it up with Notepad. But you guys can open it up with Notepad. I will open it up with Sublime Text. Make sure you're opening up the VMT, not the VTF. You can't. This is what happens if you open the VTF. We have our thing right here. So now let's just put this on 2 screens just so we know what we're doing. Alright, I put some basic settings in here, some vertex look generic, whatnot. Let's just move this a little bit. So this is actually very important. The VMT file points to the VTF file, so the game knows which VTF file you actually want to reference. And the model points to the VMT file. It's kind of like a whole pointing thing, like one thing points at another and stuff. So vertex look generic, base texture. This is of course, since we're in this materials don't matter here. I mean, the actual name materials in this thing right here. All that matters is cube/cube thing, and then in there we have cube thing, right? And this, you don't put the VTF or VMT, whatever, you don't put the extension, the file extension over here, because that is wrong. It already interprets it for you. And now surface prop, you can put concrete, all that. You can also mess with the surface props. The link will be in the description once again. And you can just type in concrete. I just put concrete because why not? And this actually I've set to wrap text, so let's not do that because that'll probably confuse you guys. So now let's remove this comment because that's not important unless you guys want to mess with it. So this is all your file should ultimately look like. And you can add a bunch of other stuff underneath that's referenced in the Valve wiki, but we're not going to do that today. So let's just go ahead and save this, Control S. Let's bring this back. So this is looking good. So now ultimately your model should be able to open inside of Garry's Mod. So let's actually launch Garry's Mod, and let me just prove to you guys that this does indeed work. So let's start a new game. Let's go into GM Flatgrass. Boom, boom, boom. And our thing, it was called like cube underscore thing. So here in the spawn list we go cube underscore thing. You can put the MDL if you want, if it's like there are multiple names similar, but I'm just gonna keep it at cube underscore thing for now. Oh, there it is, look at that. So we put it down, we've got a beautiful model, nice red model that we can use. Our mass is automatic, so you guys might want to make it a little bit heavier if they're like weights or whatnot, but in any case, here's our model. We have a collision mesh attached to that. Make sure your collision mesh is never too detailed. Always make it very general because the game engine does not like when the collision meshes are crazy. That's pretty much it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
For my soul.
Out.